I used to think love meant being inseparable. You know, that constant connection, texting all day, falling asleep on calls, never having to guess what the other person is thinking. That's exactly what I wanted with Eli. When we first met, he was quiet, almost genial, and so careful with his words. His silence felt like a safe haven. I'd been through so much noise before. The drama, the games, the heartbreaks, and Eli's calmness felt like peace. He wasn't trying to impress me. He just was asterisk. And for a while, that was all I needed. But I slowly learned that silence can also be a form of distance. At first, I loved his patience. I would talk for hours about my day, my worries, my dreams, and he'd just listen with a faint smile, sometimes reaching for my hand. But then, that warmth started to fade. His replies to my texts took longer. He started canceling plans. Even when he was sitting right next to me, he seemed a million miles away. I'd ask, "Are you okay?" And he'd always say, "Yeah, just tired." Eventually, tired became his default setting. I tried to be understanding. He asked for space, so I gave it to him. But the more I pulled back, the more it felt like he was slipping through my fingers. It was like chasing a shadow in the fog. I could see his outline, but I could never quite reach him. And that kind of uncertainty, it just eats you alive. I started to overthink everything. If he didn't text back, I'd wonder what I did wrong. If he needed time alone, I'd worry I was being too much. I craved closeness, and he needed room to breathe. I'd reach out, and he'd retreat. We were stuck in this dance, me pulling closer, him pulling away, until neither of us knew who was leading anymore. One night, after he canceled another date, I just had to ask. I called him and said, "Eli, do you even want this anymore?" There was a long pause, and then he said, so softly, "I do. I just don't know how to do it like you." That one sentence just broke me, because I realized in that moment that love isn't always about good intentions. Sometimes, two people can genuinely love each other, but their past wounds and fears speak louder than their hearts. The last time we were together, we were by the ocean at Cape Coast. I looked at him and asked, "Do you want me?" He said, "I do. But when you need me so much, it feels like I disappear." I whispered back, "And when you disappear, I feel like I'm dying." The waves crashed between us, loud and endless. And right then, I knew. We were trying to love each other through our fears, my fear of being abandoned and his fear of being consumed. 2 weeks later, I ended it. He didn't fight for me or beg me to stay. He just nodded. And that silence hurt more than I ever expected. A part of me, despite all the distance, had hoped he'd fight. I cried for days, which turned into months. But time has a way of softening even the sharpest pains. I started learning how to hold myself, to give myself the reassurance I used to beg him for. I learned that real love shouldn't feel like you constantly waiting for someone to remember you exist. About a year later, I saw Eli again. We were in the same cafe. He was sketching in his notebook, and I was writing in my journal. Our eyes met, and we both smiled. But this Chimi, it wasn't a smile filled with pain. It was peaceful. We didn't even need to talk. He looked lighter, and I think I did too, because in our own separate ways, we both learned the same crucial lesson. Love without safety suffocates, and safety without love starves. He taught me that not every ending is a failure. Sometimes an ending is just two people choosing to stop hurting each other. And that, in itself, is a kind of love. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd like this video and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next one.